We'll start on the right side, front row.
Paul, Nick Kotsnick at NHL.com. I heard you spent some time with the top prospects today.
Yeah.
What'd you share with them? What do you hope they take out of this experience?
Well, mostly I walked up there, Eric Staal had stopped to talk to them, so I kind of gave him a brief history of him being 18 years old. I remember at training camp when he first got there, Eric, he could see what he wanted to do, but his body just wouldn't let him, right? He was this big, long kid that hadn't grown into it. He'd almost get into a hole, almost beat a defenseman, and then 3 years later he was gone, right? And that was just... talked a little bit about that, about his progression, about him coming back to kind of the game and our team and what he was willing to change. And then Radko Gudas walked by, and I just said, that's why it's really important you learn how to keep your eyes up while you're handling the puck. So then we just talked about, our 6 weeks grind. It's a physical toll that you can't explain to somebody. So wish them luck on their first day and then told them to get in the gym.
Right side, second row.
Paul, David Wilson from the Miami Herald. Speaking of Eric, the decision to put him on the kill this year, which is not something he'd done a lot in his
Right.
career, could you just kind of talk about what that discussion was like with him early in the year and him embracing that role?
Yeah, that wasn't an arm twister. We needed it. We've got lots of power play options and fewer penalty kill options, just the way we're structured. So we needed it. Centerman, a good face-off man on really good range, but very, very bright. So he spent his whole career kind of being on the power play, anticipating penalty kills. We felt he could do that he could come in. He and Eetu Luostarinen. And maybe that's the benefit. Kind of wherever I put Eric, he grabbed a kid, and they started talking about the game and make the kind of mentor to all the people we have in our room.
And any update on E2?
He won't go tonight.
Left side, third row.
Yeah, hi, Paul. Richard Labbé with La Presse in Montreal. I was going to ask you what Anthony Duclair has meant to the team in your eyes since the playoffs have started.
Well, he had just a really interesting player, right? So unique. That speed is just unique. There's just not a lot of guys that can get up and down the ice the way he does. But we also don't have a lot of players actually that can play with Sasha Barkov, because Barkov needs that speed to go with him, and that's why he's been so good there. But what it really did is it balanced the rest of our lines. Right, it allowed us to leave Sam Reinhart with a young centerman, and that they've been, when A2's there, it was just such a really important line for us. And his game has grown and gotten better. He's a goal scorer and he's an offense producer, but he's worked very, very hard at being responsible at both ends. When you've got Barkov on the ice, you're playing against the world's best, right? You're going to get the 1-2 defenseman most times, and you're going to get a very responsible line, and maybe in the Carolina series, a checking line, but for the most part, you draw the number one center on the other team, so you've got to be at that level.
Take three more questions. Left side, standing up.
Hey, Paul, David Amber with Sportsnet. Talking to the 6 Golden Knights players who were here in their inaugural season, they say they look at it through a really different lens, being back in the final, knowing how hard it is to get here. I mean, the distance for you is, what,
Right.
20, 21 years?
Thanks, Dave.
How different a lens do you look at this through now?
Paul, for me, I mean, they're looking at least from the same place, right? A lifetime ago, my kids were, 2, 3, and 4, and now they're all out of the house. So, God, that makes it a long time. Completely different perspective. I've got a different team. This is a different matchup. That 2002 Red Wings team was unusual, to say the least. And then a better appreciation for all of it. The effect that it has on families, on cities, the franchise, just not spending all the time just being in the moment. It was a blur the first time.
Two more, second row. Left side.
Dan Rosen, NHL.com. Paul, I wanted to ask you about Zach Dalpe. He's a guy, he's self-described journeyman. What does it mean to you to give him this opportunity to play in the Stanley Cup Final? And how's he handled this part-time role? I mean, the guy barely played 5 minutes, didn't even play 6 minutes, but he's in,
Yeah. I'm not giving him the opportunity. The opportunity was going to somebody, and he took it. He made it be him. And he didn't just do it by having a good month, right? He became that kind of man over the course of the year that worked his ass off every day and did all the details. And when he's in the American Hockey League, he's in the American Hockey League. He's the leader down there. And he drives every day. So when he gets up here, that man's done everything he possibly can to be ready for an opportunity. Then an opportunity came up, it had to be him. And then he made the most of it in the Boston series. He scored a huge goal for us. that puts us in a position to be here today. So he's had some big moments, but almost to answer the original part of your question, I love it for him. All right, this is, well, you know, who knows what the future holds. He stays with us. We go back here again. Who cares what happens next year? Right now, he's playing in the Stanley Cup Final. He scored a huge goal in a Boston series. He's going to build some of the most important hockey memories of his career toward the end of his career.
Last question.
Paul, just interested in your perspective for about 7 weeks now, every other night in South Florida, a Panthers game or a Heat game. You've had fans that have figured out a way to go to every single home game for both franchises. Just how
That's
cool
expensive.
Yeah, expensive. How cool is this for the market to just have both teams in the championship at the same time?
Well, it's been incredible. The running joke with a reporter back in Florida is we should have bought a sports bar when we started this because we'd be retired after, right? Like, so it's great in the market, and there's a little bit of because we're traveling the same paths, we have a whole bunch of, there's more maybe basketball original Heat fans because they've been there forever that look at us now as a sports team first, and then maybe they'll become hockey fans. So it's a great introduction for us. We kind of get to move together on this. But then there's the story of the 8 seed and the comeback, and we get up 3-0 and finish the series. They have to go to a game 7. We've been to a game 7. So there's lots of sports going on, and I think, we feel it anyway. You get on one of these runs, the energy level just comes up. Well, in our market now, it's up on 2 sports and it doesn't end. So, yeah, I called home last night just before I was going down. She said, "Oh, you must call just the Heat game just ended." Those words my wife has never said to me in my life, that I was actually watching a basketball game. But it was true. The game ended. I called home. I'm going down. And she said, "Yeah, I was watching it too." There you go.
Thank you for your time, Coach.
Okay.